The rain hammered against the warehouse windows like bullets, each drop a percussion in the symphony of Bangkok's monsoon season. Consirilak Siri Ratanakasan stood in the shadows, her tailored black suit pristine despite the humidity that clung to everything in the city. At 38 she commanded the Ratanakasan syndicate with an iron fist wrapped in silk, beautiful, calculating and utterly merciless when necessary. Tonight's meeting was routine. A weapons exchange with the Chin family, her primary rivals in controlling the city's underground network. 20 years of territorial disputes had carved Bangkok into invisible kingdoms, and both families ruled their domains with ancestral pride and modern brutality. "They're late," muttered Tan, her second-in-command, checking his watch for the third time. Siri's dark eyes remained fixed on the warehouse entrance. "Chin Wayman is never late. He's making a statement." The doors burst open and Chen's men flooded in, but something was different. Chin Wayman himself wasn't leading them. Instead, a young woman strode through the rain, her leather jacket glistening with water, combat boots splashing through puddles with confident strides. She couldn't have been more than 25, with sharp features that spoke of her Chinese heritage and eyes that burned with an intensity that made Siri's pulse quicken inexplicably. "Who the hell is this?" Porn whispered. The young woman stopped 10 feet away, her crew flanking her with military precision. When she spoke, her voice was honey over steel. "I'm Chin Lian. My father sends his regards. He's dealing with more pressing matters, so you get me instead." Siri stepped from the shadows into the harsh fluorescent light. "Chin has a daughter? How sentimental of him to keep you hidden all these years." Lian's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Not hidden. Trained. There's a difference, Consirilak." The way Lian said her name, with that slight accent, that hint of challenge, sent an unexpected shiver down Siri's spine. She mentally cursed herself for the reaction. This was Chen's daughter. The enemy's blood. And yet, as their eyes locked across the warehouse, something electric passed between them. "Shall we conduct business, or would you prefer to stare at each other all night?" Porn interjected, oblivious to the tension. The exchange proceeded smoothly. Too smoothly. As Lian's men loaded crates into their trucks, Siri found her attention repeatedly drawn to the young woman's graceful movements, the way she commanded respect from hardened criminals twice her age, the curve of her neck when she checked the merchandise. "Satisfied?" Lian asked, suddenly standing closer than Siri had realized. "The weapons are acceptable." Siri kept her voice neutral, but she could feel the heat radiating from Lian's body, smell the rain and jasmine perfume on her skin. "I wasn't asking about the weapons." Lian's eyes held hers with bold confidence. "I saw you watching me. You're Chen's daughter. Of course I'm watching you. You're a liability to your father and potentially useful to me." Lian laughed, a genuine musical sound that seemed incongruous in the warehouse of death dealers. "Is that what you tell yourself?" She leaned in, her breath warm against Siri's ear. "I think you're lying, Consirilak. To me maybe. Definitely to yourself." Before Siri could respond, Lian pulled back and walked away, her hips swaying with deliberate provocation. At the door she turned back. "Same time next month? Try not to miss me too much." After they left, Porn shook his head. "That girl is trouble." Siri watched the taillights disappear into the rain-soaked night. "Yes," she murmured. "She absolutely is." That night, alone in her penthouse overlooking the Chao Phraya River, Siri poured herself a whiskey and tried to focus on business reports. But her mind kept returning to Lian, those defiant eyes, that confident smile, the electric charge when they stood close. She'd built her empire on control. Control of her territory, her emotions, her desires. At 38 she'd had lovers. Men and women who understood the transactional nature of her world. But what she'd felt tonight was different. Dangerous. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Trouble sleeping, Consirilak?" "Me too." "Oh." Siri stared at the message, her heart racing in a way it hadn't since she was a teenager. How had Lian gotten her private number? More importantly, why was she smiling? She shouldn't respond. This was a game, a manipulation. Chen's daughter was playing her. Her fingers typed before her brain could stop them. "How did you get this number?" The response came immediately. "I'm very good at getting things I want. And I wanted to talk to you." Siri's pulse quickened. "We have nothing to discuss." Your body language tonight disagreed. Meet me tomorrow. Alone. The old temple on Soibamrung. Midnight. Why would I do something so foolish? Because you're curious. Because you felt it too. Because you're braver than you pretend to be. Siri set down her phone, hands trembling slightly. This was insane. Meeting Chen's daughter alone in secret could destroy everything she'd built. Could get her killed. But as she watched the city lights shimmer on the dark water below, she knew she would go. Something had awakened in her tonight. Something that had been dormant for too long beneath layers of responsibility and ruthlessness. The next evening, Siri found herself checking her watch obsessively. She told Porn she needed space to think, sending her security team away. At 11:30, she slipped out of her building through a private exit, driving her own car for the first time in months. The temple was abandoned, its golden spires dulled with age and neglect. Incense and decay perfumed the humid air. Siri arrived early, positioning herself where she could see the entrance, her hand resting on the gun beneath her jacket. At precisely midnight, Lien emerged from the shadows like a ghost. She wore jeans and a simple white shirt, looking impossibly young and dangerous at once. You came, Lien said softly. Against my better judgment. Good judgment is overrated. Lien moved closer, her eyes never leaving Siri's face. I've researched you extensively, Consirilak. The prodigy who took over her father's business at 25. The woman who united the southern territories through strategy and strength. The leader who's never shown weakness. And what does Chen's daughter conclude from her research? That you're lonely. Lien's hand reached up, fingers barely grazing Siri's cheek. That beneath all that power and control you're starving for something real. Siri caught Lien's wrist but didn't push her away. You don't know anything about me. Then let me learn. Lien's voice dropped to a whisper. Or are you afraid? I'm never afraid. Liar, Lien breathed and kissed her. Siri should have pushed her away. Should have drawn her weapon, called her team, ended this dangerous game before it began. Instead she found herself kissing back. Fierce, desperate, months of loneliness and years of emotional armor shattering in seconds. Lien tasted like mint and rebellion, her body pressing against Siri's with confident desire. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard, the humid night air thick between them. This is madness, Siri whispered, but her hands remained on Lien's waist. The best things usually are. Lien's smile was triumphant, knowing. Tell me you didn't think about this all day. My thoughts are my own. Not anymore. Lien traced a finger down Siri's jaw. I'm in your head now. Just like you're in mine. Siri forced herself to step back to think clearly. Your father would kill us both if he knew you were here. My father doesn't control me. Steel entered Lien's voice. Nobody controls me. I choose where I go, who I see, she paused, eyes darkening with intent. Who I want. You barely know me. I know enough. I know you command absolute loyalty but trust no one. I know you're brilliant at strategy but reckless when it comes to your own happiness. I know you're attracted to me, and that terrifies you more than any rival gang ever could. The accuracy of Lien's assessment stung. Siri had spent years building walls, maintaining distance, never allowing anyone close enough to become a weakness. And here was this young woman, Chen's daughter of all people, dismantling those defenses with alarming ease. What do you want from me? Siri asked finally. Lien's expression softened. Everything. Nothing. A chance to see where this goes. She moved closer again, her voice dropping to intimacy. I know the risks. I know our families are enemies. But I also know that what I felt when I saw you yesterday, that doesn't come along often. Maybe never again. You're 25. You'll feel that way about someone else next month. I'm 26 and don't patronize me. Fire flashed in Lien's eyes. I've been groomed to take over my father's empire since I was 16. I've killed men who betrayed us. I've negotiated deals worth millions. I've earned every ounce of respect in a world that dismisses young women. So when I tell you that what I feel for you is real, believe me. Siri wanted to. God, how she wanted to believe that someone could see past her reputation, her power, the blood on her hands and want her anyway. But years of paranoia and self-preservation screamed warnings. This could be a trap, Siri said quietly. A way for your father to compromise me. Pain flickered across Lien's features. If you truly believe that, then walk away. I won't stop you. She turned, presenting her back, an act of vulnerability in their world that spoke volumes. But you don't believe it. You feel this too, and it scares you more than any trap ever could. Siri stood frozen, decades of caution warring with the sudden, desperate need for connection. She thought of her penthouse, beautiful, expensive, and utterly empty. She thought of the lovers who'd shared her bed but never her thoughts. She thought of the endless years stretching ahead, powerful and alone. Where can we go? The words escaped before she could stop them. Where no one from either family will find us. Lien turned back, hope illuminating her face. I have a place. A studio apartment under a false name. My bolt hole from the family business. Show me. They took separate vehicles, paranoid even in their surrender to this impossible attraction. Lien's apartment was in an anonymous building in the Thongler district, far from both families' strongholds. Inside it was surprisingly modest. Books lined makeshift shelves and an easel stood by the window. You paint? Siri asked, surprised. Everyone needs somewhere to put their feelings. Lien locked the door behind them, suddenly seeming nervous. In my world, showing emotion is weakness. So I painted instead. The canvases showed unexpected talent, abstract explosions of color that spoke of rage, longing, and a desperate need for freedom. Siri understood immediately. They were both prisoners of their legacies, golden cages that everyone envied but nobody understood. They're beautiful, Siri said softly. So are you. This time when they kissed, there was less desperation and more discovery. Lien's hands tangled in Siri's hair, loosening the severe bun she always wore. Siri's jacket fell to the floor, followed by Lien's shirt. They moved to the small bed, mouths and hands exploring with growing urgency. Wait, Siri gasped, pulling back. I need you to understand something. If we do this, it changes everything. There's no going back to professional distance. No pretending this didn't happen. Lien's eyes were dark with desire but clear with determination. I don't want to go back. I want to go forward wherever that leads. It could lead to both of us dead. Our families will never accept this. Then we'll be careful. Lien's fingers traced patterns on Siri's collarbone. We'll be discreet. We'll play our roles in public while building something real in private. I'm not naive, Siri. I know this will be hard. But you're worth it. The use of her personal name, said with such tenderness, broke something in Siri. She surrendered to the moment, to the feeling, to this impossible woman who somehow saw past all her defenses. They made love slowly, learning each other's bodies and boundaries, mapping scars both physical and emotional with gentle hands and whispered confessions. In the darkness of that anonymous room, they weren't mob bosses and heirs to criminal empires. They were simply two women, lonely and longing, finding unexpected solace in each other's arms. Later, as dawn painted the sky outside, Lien lay with her head on Siri's chest, fingers tracing idle patterns on her skin. What are you thinking? Lien asked softly. That I'm either the luckiest or most foolish woman in Bangkok. Possibly both. Lien laughed quietly. Join the club. She pressed a kiss to Siri's collarbone. We should talk about logistics. How we'll communicate safely when we can meet what we tell. Later, Siri interrupted, tightening her arms around the younger woman. Right now, let me have this. Just a few more hours before reality crashes back. Always so dramatic. But Lien snuggled closer, her own grip possessive. Fine. A few more hours. Then we figure out how to have everything we want without getting killed. Is that all? Siri asked dryly. I've never been accused of thinking small. They dozed fitfully, neither wanting to waste precious time sleeping but both exhausted from emotional upheaval and physical exertion. When Siri finally, reluctantly, extracted herself from the tangle of limbs and sheets, the sun was fully up. I have a meeting at 9, she said, dressing quickly. If I'm late, Porn will send out search parties. Lien watched from the bed, sheet pulled up to her chest, hair wild and beautiful. When can I see you again? The regular exchange is in 4 weeks. Before that is too risky. 4 weeks. Lien's expression turned mutinous. Absolutely not. I'll die of boredom. You'll survive. But Siri couldn't help smiling. We can message. Carefully. Not enough. Lien rose from the bed unself-consciously naked, crossing to where Siri stood. There's a charity gala in 2 weeks. Your family always attends. Mine too. We could. Absolutely not. Too many eyes. That's exactly why it's perfect. We'll barely acknowledge each other. Maybe one brief, professional conversation. But I'll know you're in the same room. I'll be able to see you. Lien's hand slid up Siri's arms. Please. I need something to look forward to. Siri knew she should refuse. Knew any public interaction was dangerous. But looking into Lien's pleading eyes, she found herself nodding. Fine. But we maintain perfect professionalism. One brief conversation, nothing more. I'll be on my best behavior. Lien's smile suggested otherwise. Scout's honor. Were you ever a scout? Absolutely not. Lien kissed her long and deep. Now go before your second-in-command declares war looking for you. Driving back to her penthouse, Siri felt lighter than she had in years. Also more terrified. She was playing a dangerous game with the highest possible stakes. Discovery would mean war between the families, almost certainly death for both of them. But as the memory of Lien's touch lingered on her skin, the sound of her laugh echoed in her ears, Siri couldn't bring herself to regret it. For the first time in her adult life she felt truly alive. Her phone buzzed with a message from an encrypted number. Already missing you. Thank you for last night. For trusting me. L. Siri smiled despite herself and typed back. Don't make me regret it. Then Lien. Be careful. Please. Always. You too. See you in 2 weeks, Consirilak. That night, after handling her usual business, territory disputes, payment collections, strategic planning, Siri stood on her balcony overlooking the glittering city. Somewhere out there, Lien was probably doing the same from her father's compound. 2 women from opposite sides of an invisible war, connected by something neither fully understood but both desperately wanted. It couldn't last. Siri knew that with cold certainty. But for now, for these stolen moments, she would allow herself to hope. Her phone buzzed again. Another message from Lien. Looking at the river. Thinking of you. Is this what people mean by falling? Siri's heart clenched. I think so. Then Lien. I'm falling too. The 2 weeks crawled by with agonizing slowness. Siri threw herself into work, expanding her territory into the eastern districts while negotiating an uneasy alliance with the Vietnamese syndicate. Every night she and Lien exchanged encrypted messages. Nothing explicit, nothing that could be used against them, but enough to sustain the growing connection between them. Lien sent photos of her paintings, each one a window into her complex inner world. Siri found herself sharing thoughts she'd never voiced to anyone. Doubts about her path, memories of her father, dreams for a different life. In the darkness of night, separated by miles but connected by glowing screens, they built intimacy through words alone. The night of the gala arrived with humid promises of monsoon rain. Siri dressed with unusual care, choosing a midnight blue qipao with intricate silver embroidery, modern enough to show power, traditional enough to honor her Thai Chinese heritage. Her hair was styled in an elegant updo, and she wore her mother's jade earrings for luck. You look beautiful, Porn commented, surprised. Special occasion? Just maintaining appearances. The city's elite will be there. We need to project strength. The ballroom of the Mandarin Oriental was a glittering spectacle of Bangkok's criminal aristocracy masquerading as legitimate businesspeople. Politicians, judges, and police commissioners mingled freely with those they were supposed to oppose, everyone pretending the blood money funding the champagne fountains was earned honestly. Siri worked the room with practiced ease, exchanging pleasantries with allies, subtle threats with rivals. She felt Chen's arrival before she saw him. A disturbance in the room's energy, conversations pausing and resuming with forced casualness. Then Lien walked in and Siri's breath caught. She wore a scarlet dress that hugged her curves like sin itself, slit high enough to show dangerous amounts of leg with each step. Her hair fell in glossy waves over bare shoulders, and her lips were painted the color of fresh blood. She was devastating and she knew it. Their eyes met across the crowded room. Lien's expression remained perfectly neutral, but Siri saw the heat flash in her gaze before she smoothly looked away, greeting an elderly weapons dealer with respectful deference. Chin brought his daughter again, Porn muttered. Bold move, flaunting her in our territory. This venue is neutral ground, Siri replied calmly, though her pulse raced. He has every right to bring whoever he chooses. For the next hour they orbited each other like binary stars. Never in the same conversation circle, never obviously watching but constantly, acutely aware of each other's presence. Siri saw how Lien commanded respect from hardened criminals, how she navigated complex conversations with intelligence and grace, how she occasionally touched her neck in a gesture Siri now recognized as nervous habit. Finally, inevitably, their paths converged at the bar. Kun Sirilak, Lien said formally, her voice cool and professional. How unexpected to see you here. Miss Chin. Siri kept her expression neutral even as her skin hummed with awareness of Lien's proximity. I trust your father as well? Quite well, thank you. Lien accepted champagne from the bartender, her fingers brushing against Siri's accidentally on purpose. The brief contact sent electricity through Siri's body. He sends his regards. How kind. Siri took a measured sip of her own drink. And how are you finding Bangkok? I understand you've been living abroad for some years. The city has changed, but its essence remains the same. Lien's eyes held Siri's boldly. I find myself appreciating aspects I never noticed before. Hidden depths beneath the obvious beauty. One must be careful when exploring hidden depths, Siri replied softly. They can be dangerous. Only if you don't know how to swim. Lien's smile was barely there, but her eyes burned. Fortunately, I'm an excellent swimmer. Someone called Lien's name, one of her father's lieutenants. She turned away with visible reluctance. Enjoy your evening, Kun Sirilak. And you, Miss Chin. Siri watched her walk away, the sway of that red dress nearly undoing her carefully maintained composure. She was so focused on Lien that she didn't notice Porn's suspicious expression until her second-in-command leaned close. That looked friendly. I was being diplomatic, Siri replied smoothly. Chen's daughter is new to the business. Better to establish civil relations now than create unnecessary tension. Porn didn't look convinced, but a disturbance at the ballroom entrance cut off whatever he was about to say. A group of men in dark suits entered with military precision, their leader a scarred Thai man Siri recognized immediately. Kun Ban Cha, leader of the Northern Territories and a rival to both her family and Chen's. This isn't his territory, Porn muttered. What's he doing here? Making a statement. Siri's hand instinctively moved toward the concealed weapon at her thigh. Stay alert. Bancha's presence shifted the room's dynamic. Conversations became guarded, alliances tested. He moved through the crowd like a shark, greeting allies and making subtle threats to enemies. When his eyes landed on Lien standing alone by a window, his smile turned predatory. Siri watched with growing tension as Bancha approached the younger woman. She couldn't hear their conversation from across the room, but she saw Lien's posture stiffen, saw the older man lean too close, his hand reaching for her waist. Lien stepped back smoothly, her expression icy, but Bancha persisted, cornering her against the window. Chin was on the opposite side of the ballroom, unaware his daughter was being harassed. Without conscious thought, Siri found herself crossing the room. Miss Chin, she said pleasantly, inserting herself between Lien and Bancha. I believe you promised to show me the garden. Shall we? Bancha's eyes narrowed. We were having a conversation, Kun Sirilak. And now you're not. Siri's smile didn't reach her eyes. Do we have a problem, Kun Bancha? For a long moment tension crackled. Then Bancha stepped back, his smile ugly. No problem. Though I wonder why Ratanakasan's leader is so protective of Chen's little girl. That could be misinterpreted. The only misinterpretation is yours, Siri said coldly. Miss Chen is a professional colleague. I treat all colleagues with respect, unlike some. She turned to Lien, offering her arm. Shall we? Lien accepted with perfect composure, though Siri felt her trembling slightly. They walked together through the ballroom doors onto the illuminated garden terrace, leaving whispers in their wake. Once outside, safely away from immediate scrutiny, Lien let out a shaky breath. Thank you. He was getting aggressive. Are you all right? Siri's hand found Lien's waist, steadying her. I'm fine. I've dealt with worse. But Lien leaned into Siri's touch. Still my hero. We can't stay out here long. People will talk. Let them. Lien turned in Siri's arms, her eyes fierce. Did you see his face when you stepped in? He knows. Or suspects. He knows nothing. He's a pig who saw a beautiful woman and assumed she was available. Siri's jaw clenched. If he touches you again. You'll what? Start a war. But Lien was smiling. As much as I appreciate the protective instinct, we both know that's not realistic. I don't care. Yes, you do. You care about your family, your people, the empire you've built. Lien's hand cupped Siri's face tenderly. It's one of the things I love about you. The word hung between them, shocking in its intensity. They'd known each other less than a month, had spent only one night together, and yet. I know, Lien whispered, reading Siri's expression. It's too soon. Too fast. Too crazy. But I feel it anyway. Lien. You don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know. She stepped away reluctantly. We should go back inside before this causes more speculation than it already has. But Siri caught her hand. Wait. She pulled Lien back, kissing her quickly but thoroughly, not caring who might see from the ballroom windows. I feel it too, she whispered against Lien's lips. And it terrifies me. Lien's smile was radiant. Good. We can be terrified together. They returned to the gala separately, resuming their roles as rivals heirs who happened to be at the same event. But something had shifted. As Siri navigated conversations and negotiated deals, she felt Lien's presence like a physical touch. Every glance they exchanged across the crowded room was a promise, an affirmation that what they'd found was worth the risk. Near midnight, Siri stepped out to take an encrypted call from her Vietnamese contact. She was standing in a shadowed corridor when Lien suddenly appeared, pulling her into an alcove. What are you? Siri's protest was cut off by Lien's urgent kiss. Couldn't help myself, Lien breathed between kisses. You in that dress, being all powerful and beautiful. It's torture. Someone will see. Then we'd better be quick. Lien's hand slid up Siri's thighs, finding the weapon strapped there. Always armed. Always prepared. Always careful, Siri corrected, but her breathing had quickened. Lien, we can't. I know. Lien pulled back with visible effort. I just needed a moment. One stolen moment to remember when I'm back in my father's compound, pretending I don't spend every second thinking about you. Siri cupped her face tenderly. Come to my place. Tomorrow night. I'll send you the access codes. Your penthouse. Isn't that risky? Everything about this is risky. At least there will have privacy. Siri kissed her softly. I want to wake up with you again. I want a whole night, not stolen moments in shadows. Tomorrow then. Lien's smile was pure joy. I'll tell my father I'm staying with friends. They separated reluctantly, Lien disappearing back into the gala while Siri composed herself in the shadows. When she finally returned to the ballroom, Porn was waiting with a suspicious expression. Where were you? Handling business. Siri's voice was calm. Why? Because Bancha just left and he looked smug. Like he knows something. Porn's eyes bored into hers. Whatever you're doing, boss, be careful. The Northern Territories are looking for any excuse to move against us. I'm always careful. But as Siri watched Lien say goodnight to various crime lords and politicians, their eyes meeting one more time across the room with electric promise, she wondered if careful was even possible anymore. Lien arrived at Siri's penthouse the following evening wearing jeans and a simple black top, a backpack slung over her shoulder. She looked impossibly young standing in Siri's marble foyer, and for a moment Siri's doubts resurged. Having second thoughts? Lien asked, reading her expression. Every second. But Siri pulled her close, breathing in her jasmine scent. Come in anyway. They ordered Thai food from a restaurant Siri trusted, eating on the balcony overlooking the glittering city. Conversation flowed easily, Lien's years studying business in Hong Kong, Siri's rise through her family's ranks, their shared frustration with the limitations their gender placed on them in a male-dominated world. My father's lieutenants still question my authority, Lien admitted, setting down her somtam with a sigh. They smile to my face and undermine me behind my back. They're waiting for me to fail to prove I'm not worthy of succession. Then don't fail. Siri refilled their wine glasses. Show them what you're made of. Prove you're stronger, smarter, and more ruthless than any of them. Is that what you did? Every single day. Siri's eyes grew distant with memory. When my father died, I was 25. The lieutenants saw a grieving girl easy to manipulate or dispose of. The first man who tried to betray me, I personally threw off this balcony. Lien's eyes widened. Seriously. Deadly seriously. After that, challenges became less frequent. Siri's smile was cold. Fear and respect. They're the currencies of our world. You need both. But not with everyone. Lien moved closer, her hand finding Siri's. Not with me. No, Siri agreed softly. Not with you. They made love slowly this time, learning each nuance of pleasure and response. Afterward, wrapped in Egyptian cotton sheets, they talked until dawn approached, sharing secrets, dreams, and fears they'd never voiced to anyone. I want out, Lien confessed in the darkness. Eventually. Not now, I know I have responsibilities, legacies to honor. But someday I want to be free of all this. To paint full-time maybe. To live somewhere peaceful where I'm not constantly looking over my shoulder. That's a beautiful dream. You don't share it? Siri was quiet for a long moment. I've never let myself dream that far ahead. This life, it's all I've ever known. My father prepared me for leadership from childhood. The idea of being anything other than what I am now, it doesn't compute. What if you didn't have to choose? Lien propped herself up on one elbow, eyes intense. What if there was a way to secure your family's future while still finding freedom for yourself? I'm listening. The underworld is changing. The old ways, violent territorial disputes, constant warfare, they're becoming obsolete. The smart players are moving into legitimate business, using their capital to build legal empires. Lien's voice grew passionate. What if we did that? What if we found a way to transition both our families away from pure criminality toward legitimacy? Our families hate each other. Have for generations. Because they're competing for the same resources using outdated methods. Lien's mind was clearly racing. But what if we changed the game entirely? Instead of fighting over Bangkok's criminal enterprises, what if we pooled resources to dominate legitimate markets? Real estate, technology, finance. Sectors where cooperation yields better returns than competition. Siri stared at her, this brilliant young woman who somehow managed to be both idealistic and pragmatic. You've thought about this. For years. But I needed someone I could trust, someone with equal power and vision. Lien's hand cupped Siri's face. I think I've found her. It would take years. Decades maybe. Then we start now. Lien kissed her softly. Together. The idea was intoxicating. A future where they weren't hiding, where their relationship wasn't a liability but an asset, where the violence and paranoia that defined their world could fade into memory. But Siri had survived too long to indulge in fantasy without examining reality. Even if we could convince our families, there are others to consider. Bancha in the north, the Vietnamese along the border, the Chinese triads. They won't simply let us transition peacefully. Then we outmaneuver them. We're smarter, more adaptable. Lien's confidence was absolute. I know it's risky, Siri. But isn't this worth fighting for? A chance at a real life together. Before Siri could respond, her phone buzzed urgently, Porn's emergency code. She grabbed it immediately. What is it? Boss, we have a problem. Bancha's men just hit our warehouse in Klong Toi. 3 of our people are dead. Porn's voice was tight with controlled rage. They left a message. They know about you and Chen's daughter. Siri's blood turned to ice. Beside her, Lien tensed, clearly reading the shift in atmosphere. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Siri disconnected and turned to Lien, her mind already calculating implications and responses. You need to leave. Now. What happened? Bancha knows about us. He just attacked my warehouse to prove it. Siri was already dressing, her movements efficient despite the panic clawing at her chest. If he knows, others might too. You need to get back to your father's compound before this explodes. I'm not leaving you to face this alone. You don't have a choice. Siri's voice was cold, the warmth of their earlier intimacy buried beneath layers of survival instinct. If this gets back to your father, if he thinks I've compromised you, we'll have a full-scale war. Go home. Maintain your cover. We'll figure this out. Lien grabbed her clothes, dressing quickly, but her expression was mutinous. This is exactly what I was talking about. We're stronger together, Siri. Let me help. You help by leaving. Siri holstered her weapon, checked the magazine. Please, Lian. Trust me on this. They kissed once, desperately, both knowing everything had just changed. Then Lian was gone, slipping out through the service entrance while Siri headed for her car. The warehouse was a scene of controlled chaos when she arrived. Bodies were being removed, blood pooled on concrete, and her people were armed and furious. Porn met her at the entrance, his face grim. They knew exactly when the shipment was arriving, exactly where our people would be positioned. This was planned with inside information. Show me the message. Porn led her to the warehouse office. Spray painted across the wall in dripping red letters. Chen's whore betrays her blood. Siri stared at the words, feeling the trap closing around her. If her people saw this, if they believed she'd been compromised by emotions. Clean this up, she ordered. Before anyone else sees it. Too late. Porn's voice was heavy. At least a dozen people saw it before I got here. The rumors are already spreading. Then we control the narrative. Siri turned to face him, her expression carved from stone. Bancha is trying to create division to make us look weak. This is a calculated move to undermine my authority. Is it true? Porn asked quietly. About you and Chen's daughter? The question hung in the humid air between them. Siri could lie, deny everything, maintain her cover. But Porn had been with her since the beginning, had saved her life more than once. She owed him honesty even if it cost her everything. Yes. Porn closed his eyes briefly. Jesus, boss. Of all the people in Bangkok. I know. Siri's voice was steady despite the fear coiling in her stomach. It started as attraction. It became something more. And now it's a liability. That's an understatement. Porn ran a hand through his hair. Chen will go ballistic when he finds out. And our people, they'll see it as betrayal. Sleeping with the enemy's daughter while we're in active territorial disputes. I'm aware of the optics. Are you? Porn's frustration boiled over. Because from where I'm standing, you've just handed Bancha exactly what he needs to destroy us. He's probably already talking to our lieutenants, convincing them you're compromised, that you've gone soft for some girl. By tomorrow, half our people will be questioning whether you're fit to lead. Every word was a knife, painful because it was true. Siri had known the risks, had chosen to pursue Lian anyway, and now the consequences were crashing down. Then I fix it, she said quietly. I prove that my personal life doesn't interfere with business. I show strength, decisiveness, and zero tolerance for challenges to my authority. How? I deal with Bancha. Permanently. Siri's eyes were cold. He made this personal. That was his mistake. She spent the rest of the night coordinating her response. If Bancha wanted war, she'd give him war, but on her terms. She reached out to contacts in the north, identified vulnerabilities in his operation, planned 3 simultaneous strikes that would cripple his logistics and kill his top lieutenants. At dawn, exhausted and running on caffeine and adrenaline, she finally allowed herself to check her encrypted messages. 3 from Lian. Are you okay? Please tell me you're safe. Siri, I'm scared. My father is asking questions about the gala. I think someone told him they saw us together. Siri's hands trembled as she typed her response. I'm fine. Don't respond to this message. We need complete silence until this settles. If your father asks about me, tell him the truth. We had one brief professional conversation. Nothing more. But, Lian, please. Radio silence. It's the only way to protect what we have. The reply came after a long pause. Hey. But after this is over, we need to talk about the future. I'm not giving you up without a fight. One crisis at a time. Stay safe. I'll contact you when it's clear. Siri deleted the conversation thread and destroyed her phone's SIM card. No evidence, no trail. Just another hard decision in a life built on them. The next 48 hours were a blur of violence and strategy. Her teams hit Bancha's operations with surgical precision, burning warehouses, killing key personnel, destroying his reputation among the northern syndicates. She was ruthless, visible, and absolutely in control. By the 3rd day, Bancha requested a meeting. They met on neutral ground, a temple courtyard at midnight, both leaders surrounded by armed security but maintaining the fiction of civilized discourse. You've made your point, Bancha said, his scarred face tight with suppressed rage. The attack stop now or this escalates beyond both our control. Then stop spreading lies about me. Siri's voice was ice. Your attempt to undermine my authority failed. All you've accomplished is proving I'm willing to burn your empire to ashes. Is it a lie? Bancha leaned forward. I saw you with Chen's daughter at the gala. The way you looked at her, the way you defended her from me. That's not professional courtesy, Consirilak. That's something else entirely. What I do in my personal time is irrelevant to business. Is it? Bancha's smile was ugly. Because I'm thinking Chen might disagree. I'm thinking he'd be very interested to know his daughter is fucking his biggest rival. Siri moved faster than thought, her gun pressed against Bancha's temple before his guards could react. Her own people raised their weapons in response, and suddenly the peaceful temple courtyard was a heartbeat away from massacre. Listen very carefully, Siri said softly, her voice deadly calm. You can try to use this information. You can tell Chen, tell anyone you want. But understand this, the moment you do, you sign your own death warrant. Because I will burn everything you've built to the ground. Your businesses, your family, your legacy, nothing will remain. So ask yourself, is your curiosity worth total annihilation? For a long moment they remained frozen. Then Bancha raised his hands slowly. Point taken. What do you propose? We both step back. You stay in the north, I keep the south, and we maintain neutral zones. No more provocations, no more spreading rumors. Siri lowered her weapon but didn't holster it. And you forget whatever you think you saw at the gala. And in return? You continue breathing. Siri's smile was cold. That seems fair. Bancha considered, then nodded slowly. Agreed. But Siri? You're playing a dangerous game. Emotions make us vulnerable. You of all people should know that. I know exactly what I'm doing. But as she drove away from the meeting, Siri wondered if that was true. The last week had proven how precarious her position really was, how easily everything could unravel. And she still hadn't heard from Lien. She returned to her penthouse to find Porn waiting with an urgent message. Chen wants to meet. Tomorrow. Just the two of you. Siri's stomach dropped. Did he say why? No. But his people seemed tense. Like they're expecting conflict. All right. Set it up. The usual location. That night, alone in her vast penthouse, Siri stood on the balcony and allowed herself one moment of weakness. She'd built her empire through strength, strategy, and absolute emotional control. But Lien had cracked that armor, had shown her glimpses of a different life, a different future. Now she might have to choose, her empire or her heart. And she had no idea which choice she could live with. Her phone buzzed. A new encrypted number. My father knows. Meet me at my studio before you see him. You need to know what we're facing. Oh. The studio was dark when Siri arrived, a single lamp casting long shadows across Lien's canvases. The younger woman stood by the window, tension radiating from every line of her body. When she turned, Siri saw traces of tears on her face. What happened? Siri asked, crossing to her immediately. My father confronted me this morning. He knows about us, not everything but enough. Lien's voice shook. Someone sent him photos from the gala. Us in the garden. Us in the corridor. The angles are bad but they're unmistakably intimate. Bancha. Siri's hands clenched into fists. He took out insurance before our meeting. My father was cold, distant. He asked if you'd seduced me to gain advantage, if I'd been feeding you information about his operations. Lien grabbed Siri's hands desperately. I denied everything. Said you'd been professional, that the photos were misleading. But he didn't believe me. I could see it in his eyes. What did he say about tomorrow's meeting? That's why I needed to see you. Lien's eyes were wide with fear. Siri, it's a trap. He's not meeting you to negotiate. He's planning to kill you. The words hung between them, heavy with implications. Siri had suspected as much, but hearing it confirmed sent cold dread through her veins. Tell me everything you know. He's bringing 20 men, all heavily armed. The meeting location will have sniper positions, multiple exit points blocked. He's planned this for days, maybe weeks. Lien's voice broke. He's been suspicious of us for longer than we realized. The photos just confirmed what he already suspected. Then I don't go. I send Porn in my place or I reschedule for neutral ground with witnesses. He anticipated that. If you don't show, he interprets it as admission of guilt and launches a full assault on your territories. He's already positioned his people. Lien pulled Siri close, her body shaking. There's no good option. If you go, you die. If you don't go, he starts a war you might not win. Siri held her, mind racing through scenarios and contingencies. She'd survived impossible situations before through careful planning and calculated risk. But this was different. This time, the trap was built on emotional vulnerability she'd allowed herself to develop. There's a third option, Siri said slowly. I go to the meeting, but I bring overwhelming force. Match his 20 men with 40 of my own. Turn his ambush into a standoff where nobody wins. That still ends in war. Just delayed. Then what do you suggest? Lien pulled back, her eyes red but determined. Let me talk to him. Father to daughter. I'll convince him that whatever he thinks is happening between us is nothing, that his paranoia is unfounded. I'll offer to cut all contact with you, to prove my loyalty to the family. Lien. It's the only way. Lien cupped Siri's face tenderly. If he believes I'm still loyal, still his obedient daughter, maybe he'll call off the hit. Maybe we get more time to figure this out. And if he doesn't believe you? If he's already made up his mind? Then at least I tried. Lien kissed her softly. I won't let him kill you without exhausting every other option. They held each other in the dim studio, both knowing this might be the last time. Outside, Bangkok hummed with its usual chaos, unaware that two criminal empires teetered on the brink of catastrophic war, all because of what two women felt for each other. I love you, Siri whispered, finally speaking the words aloud. I know it's fast, I know it's complicated, but I need you to know that before. Don't. Lien pressed fingers to her lips. Don't say goodbye. This isn't ending. We're too smart, too strong to let anyone destroy what we've built. Promise me something, Siri said urgently. If this goes wrong tomorrow, if I don't make it, get out. Take your savings, your paintings, and disappear. Don't let your father force you into retaliation. Just go. I'm not leaving you. Promise me. Siri's voice was fierce. If you love me, promise you'll save yourself. Lien was quiet for a long moment. Finally, reluctantly, she nodded. I promise. But you have to promise me something too. When? Survive. Find a way through this so we can have the future we talked about. I'll try. They made love one more time, urgent and desperate, memorizing each touch and sound and sensation. Afterward, wrapped in sheets that smelled of paint and sweat and jasmine, they planned. Lien would talk to her father in the morning, try to convince him of her loyalty. Siri would prepare for the meeting with maximum security and multiple contingency plans. If negotiation failed, if Chin truly intended murder, then Siri would be ready for war. Whatever happens, Lien said as dawn painted the sky pink and gold, know that you changed my life. You showed me what it feels like to really want something beyond duty and legacy. That's a gift, Siri. Even if everything falls apart, I'll never regret that. Neither will I. They parted at sunrise, Lien returning to her father's compound while Siri headed to her headquarters. The next 12 hours passed in tense preparation. Porn assembled her best fighters, positioned teams throughout the city, made contact with allies who could provide backup if needed. Are you sure about this? Porn asked as she prepared to leave for the meeting. We could still call it off, regroup, plan a different approach. Chin will interpret cancellation as weakness. This ends today one way or another. Siri checked her weapons with practiced efficiency. If I don't come back. Don't talk like that. If I don't come back, Siri continued firmly, you take over. Honor our alliances, protect our people, and whatever you do, don't seek revenge against Lien. She's innocent in this. Porn's expression was skeptical, but he nodded. Understood. But you're coming back. You're too stubborn to die. Siri managed a smile. Let's hope you're right. The meeting location was a shuttered factory in the industrial district, technically neutral ground, but Chen had clearly chosen it for tactical advantage. Siri arrived with her full security detail, noting immediately the sniper positions on surrounding buildings, the blocked exit routes, the suspicious number of Chen's men already in position. Chen himself stood in the center of the factory floor, looking older than she'd seen him last. His expression was carved from stone, revealing nothing. Consirak. Thank you for coming. You didn't leave me much choice, Chen Weimin. Siri kept her distance, her people fanning out behind her. Shall we drop the pretense? We both know this isn't a standard business meeting. You're right. It's not. Chen's eyes were cold. It's a reckoning. You seduced my daughter, compromised her loyalty, and attempted to use her against me. That requires consequences. I did no such thing. Whatever happened between Lien and me has nothing to do with our family's business. Everything has to do with business. Chen's control cracked slightly. She's my heir, my legacy. And you knew exactly what you were doing when you pursued her. You saw an opportunity for advantage and you took it. You're wrong. Siri's voice was steady. What I feel for Lien has nothing to do with strategy or advantage. I pursued her because... Because why? Chen demanded. Because you love her? Please. People like us don't love Sirilak. We use. We manipulate. We take what we need and discard what we don't. That's the life we chose. Maybe that's the life you chose. But I want something different. And so does Lien. My daughter doesn't know what she wants. She's young, idealistic, easily influenced. Chen's hand moved toward his jacket. But I know what needs to be done. Siri's people raised their weapons. Chen's men did the same. 30 armed criminals faced off across the empty factory floor, fingers on triggers, waiting for an excuse to unleash carnage. If you kill me, Siri said calmly, my people have orders to destroy everything you've built. Your businesses, your properties, your family. It won't be quick or clean. It will be absolute annihilation. Is that really what you want? If it removes you from my daughter's life? Yes. Father, no. Everyone turned to see Lien running across the factory floor, her face desperate. She positioned herself between Siri and Chen, hands raised. Lien, get back, Chen ordered. This doesn't concern you. It's the only thing that concerns me. Lien's voice rang through the empty space. You want to know the truth? Fine. Here it is. I pursued her. I made the first move. I fell in love with her despite every logical reason not to. And I don't regret it. Lien, don't, Siri whispered. But Lien ignored her, focused entirely on her father. You raised me to be strong, to trust my instincts, to make hard decisions. Well, this is my decision. Siri isn't our enemy. She's brilliant, strategic, and capable of helping us build something better than this endless cycle of violence. But more than that, she sees me. Not as an heir or a tool, but as a person. And I love her for it. The factory was silent except for the distant sounds of traffic. Chen stared at his daughter, something like pain flickering across his weathered face. You're choosing her over your family, he said quietly. I'm choosing a future where I don't have to choose. Lien's voice softened. Father, please. There's another way. A way for both families to benefit, to transition away from this life toward something legitimate and lasting. Siri and I have been discussing it. If you'd just listen. Enough. Chen's voice was heavy with finality. You've been compromised, manipulated into betraying everything I taught you. I see that now. He looked at Siri with pure hatred. You did this. You corrupted my daughter with pretty words and empty promises. I love her, Siri said simply. That's not corruption. That's truth. Then you'll both suffer for that truth. Chen pulled a gun from his jacket. Everything happened at once. Porn and Lien both lunged forward. Chen's men opened fire. Siri's team returned shots. The factory erupted into chaos. Muzzle flashes lighting the darkness, the deafening crack of gunfire, screams and orders overlapping. Siri threw herself at Lien, knocking her down behind a concrete pillar as bullets tore through the space where they'd been standing. Her people provided covering fire while she assessed the situation. Chen had vanished in the confusion, but his men were everywhere. We need to get you out of here, Siri shouted over the gunfire. Not without you. Lien clutched her desperately. A bullet struck the pillar inches from Siri's head, showering them with concrete fragments. The fight was going badly. Chen had more men, better positions, and home territory advantage. Siri's team was good but outnumbered. Porn. Siri called into her radio. We need extraction now. Working on it. Southeast exit in 60 seconds. They ran, staying low, Siri's body shielding Lien as they moved through the firefight. Behind them, Porn's team provided suppressing fire, buying precious seconds. They burst through a side door into an alley where 2 armored vehicles waited, engines running. Go, go, go! Porn shouted and they piled in. The vehicles screamed away from the factory just as police sirens began wailing in the distance. Someone had called the cops, probably Chin, ensuring Siri couldn't stay and fight. The factory battle was over, but the war had just begun. Back at her headquarters, Siri took stock of casualties. 3 dead, 5 wounded, and Chin fully committed to destroying her now. But she and Lien were alive, and that was something. Lien sat in Siri's office, still shaking from adrenaline. I'm sorry. I thought if he heard it from me if I explained. You did the right thing. Siri knelt before her, taking her hands. But you understand what this means. You can't go back. Your father will see you as a traitor now. I know. Tears slid down Lien's cheeks. I chose you. I chose us. There's no undoing that. Siri pulled her close, holding her as she cried. Outside, her empire teetered on the brink of war. Inside, she held the woman who'd become more important than any territory or legacy. Porn entered without knocking, his face grim. Boss, we've got a problem. A big one. Bigger than Chin declaring war? Yeah. Porn pulled up security footage on his tablet. Chin isn't working alone anymore. He's made an alliance. The video showed Chin meeting with Bancha and 3 other crime lords. Every major player in Bangkok except Siri. They were pooling resources, combining armies, coordinating strategy. It's a coalition, Porn said quietly. They're all coming for us. Together. Siri stared at the screen, calculating odds and options. 5 families against 1. Overwhelming force with coordinated tactics. Even her brilliant strategies had limits against those numbers. How long do we have? Hours maybe. They're mobilizing now. Lien stood, wiping her eyes, her expression hardening with determination. Then we mobilize too. I know my father's strategies, his weaknesses. I can help. Lien. Don't protect me. I chose this. Let me fight for it. Her eyes met Siri's with fierce resolve. Together. Like we said. Siri made a decision. Porn, contact the Vietnamese, the Cambodian syndicates, anyone who might be interested in preventing Chin from dominating Bangkok. Offer them territory, profit shares, whatever it takes. We need allies fast. On it. And prepare the weapons depot for distribution. If they want war, we'll give them war. As Porn left to execute orders, Siri turned to Lien. Are you sure about this? Once we fight back, there's no peaceful resolution. This becomes blood feud territory. I'm sure. Lien's jaw was set. My father chose this path. We're just surviving it. They worked through the night, coordinating defenses and calling in favors. But as dawn approached, Siri received a call that changed everything. It was Chin himself. Sirlak. I have a proposition. I'm listening. Single combat. Gimme. Winner takes all, territories, businesses, and my daughter's future. Chen's voice was cold. If you win, I call off the coalition and acknowledge your relationship with Lien. If I win, well, you won't be around to worry about it. Why would you offer that? Because despite everything, I love my daughter. And I see how much this is destroying her. So I'm giving you one chance to win her honestly. Warrior to warrior. No armies, no politics. Just you and me. Siri's mind raced. It could be a trap, but it could also be her best chance at ending this without massive bloodshed. Where and when? The old temple where we first made peace 20 years ago. 1 hour. Come alone. The line went dead. Lien grabbed her arm. Don't. It's obviously a trap. Maybe. But if there's even a chance to end this without losing more people. Siri cupped Lien's face tenderly. I have to try. Then I'm coming with you. No. You stay here where it's safe. If this goes wrong, I'll burn Bangkok to the ground avenging you, Lien finished fiercely. So you'd better win. Siri arrived at the temple to find Chin waiting alone in the courtyard as promised. Moonlight painted the ancient stones silver, and the scent of incense drifted from abandoned prayer halls. You came, Chin said. I gave my word. Siri drew her gun, laying it on the ground. Single combat means no weapons beyond our bodies. Chin did the same, his movements stiff. He was older, maybe slower, but decades of violence had honed him into a dangerous fighter. They circled each other slowly, two predators testing for weakness. You really love her? Chin asked quietly. More than I thought possible. And you'll protect her? Keep her safe. With my life. Chin nodded slowly. Then let's see if you're worthy. He attacked fast, his fist driving toward Siri's face. She blocked, countered, and they fell into brutal rhythm, strikes and blocks, grappling and breaks. Chin was strong, experienced, fighting with desperate determination. But Siri was younger, faster, and motivated by something stronger than pride or territory. She was fighting for love. The battle raged across the temple courtyard, both warriors drawing blood, neither willing to yield. Siri felt ribs crack under Chen's punches, tasted blood from split lips. But she kept fighting, kept pushing until finally she found an opening. A sweep took Chen's legs out. She pinned him, forearm across his throat, weight pressing down. Yield, she demanded. Chen stared up at her, breathing hard. For a long moment, Siri thought he'd choose death over surrender. Then slowly he tapped her arm twice, the ancient signal of submission. Siri released him, stepping back warily. Chen climbed to his feet, wincing. You win, he said simply. The coalition will be dissolved. Your relationship with Lien. He paused, pain flickering across his face. I won't oppose it. Just like that. I'm a man of honor, whatever you might think. I gave my word. Chen looked old, suddenly tired. But understand this, Cyrilak, she's my only child. If you hurt her, if you betray her, no combat trial will save you. I will destroy everything you love, slowly and thoroughly. Are we clear? Perfectly. Siri bowed slightly, showing respect. I will protect her. You have my word. Chen nodded and began walking away. Then he paused, looking back. She's stronger than I gave her credit for. Strong enough to choose her own path. I see that now. Just make sure her path leads somewhere good. I will. Siri watched him disappear into the night, then pulled out her phone to call Lien. But before she could dial, a shot rang out. Pain exploded in Siri's shoulder, spinning her around. She hit the ground hard, vision blurring. Through the haze, she saw a figure emerge from the temple shadows. Bancha, gun raised. Did you really think Chen spoke for all of us? Bancha's voice was full of venom. The coalition stands. With you dead, we'll take your territory and kill Chen for his weakness. Bangkok will be ours. He aimed for Siri's head. She tried to move, but her body wouldn't respond, blood pooling beneath her. This is how it ends, she thought distantly. After everything, betrayed in a sacred place. Another shot rang out. But it wasn't Bancha firing. The crime lord crumpled, a hole blooming in his forehead. Behind him stood Lien, holding a still-smoking gun, her face carved from fury and determination. Nobody touches her, Lien said coldly. Nobody. She ran to Siri, pressing hands against the wound. Stay with me. God, Siri, stay with me. Didn't stay. Safe. Siri mumbled, consciousness fading. Of course not. I never do what I'm told. Lien was crying now, pulling out her phone. I'm getting help. You're going to be fine. You hear me? You're going to be fine because we have plans, remember? A whole future to build. Siri tried to respond, tried to tell Lien she loved her one more time, but darkness was pulling her under. The last thing she heard before unconsciousness claimed her was Lien's voice, fierce and desperate, calling her back to life.